The ride back to the next outpost was quiet, tension hanging thick in the air. Our small team sat strapped into their seats, eyes scanning the surroundings even though there was nothing to see. I could feel the adrenaline wearing off, leaving behind a deep-seated exhaustion. But there was no room for weakness, not now. Not when the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Jackson glanced at me, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. "You holding up, Sam?" "Barely," I admitted, managing a weak smile. "But we can't stop now." He nodded, and we both fell silent again. The hum of the transport ship's engines, the only sound. The mission at the previous outpost had revealed just how desperate the Zarnath were, and it made our current objective all the more critical. Commander Elias's voice crackled over the comms. "Prepare for landing. We're 5 minutes out." The team straightened up, checking weapons and gear one last time. I did the same, the familiar routine helping to steady my nerves. The transport touched down with a soft thud, and the hatch opened to reveal the dimly lit interior of the next outpost. We disembarked quickly, spreading out to secure the area. The air was cold, and a faint smell of something metallic lingered. "This place gives me the creeps," one of the soldiers muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Focus," Elias said sharply. "We need to move fast. Sam, Jackson, take point." We nodded and led the way, moving cautiously through the narrow corridors. The outpost was eerily similar to the last one, but there was an added sense of decay, as if it had been abandoned for far longer. We reached the central hub without incident, but the sight that greeted us there made my blood run cold. Dozens of containment pods lined the walls, each one holding a human-alien hybrid in various stages of transformation. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows across the room, highlighting the twisted forms inside the pods. "Oh my God," Jackson breathed, his voice filled with horror. "We need to destroy these things," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "We can't let them live." Elias nodded, his face grim, agreed. "But we need to gather any data first. Find out what they're planning." We split up, searching the room for any clues. I moved to one of the terminals, wiping away the dust and booting it up. The screen flickered to life, revealing a series of files and logs. As I scanned through them, my heart sank. "They're trying to create an army," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "These hybrids, they're designed to be soldiers. Stronger, faster, more resilient than anything we've seen." Jackson cursed under his breath. "We need to stop this, Sam. Whatever it takes." "We will," I replied, downloading the data onto a portable drive. "Elias, I've got the data. Let's finish this." He nodded, giving the signal to plant the charges. We worked quickly, placing explosive devices around the room, careful not to trigger any alarms. The hybrids remained motionless in their pods, but their presence was a constant weight on our minds. "Charges are set," Jackson said, his voice tight with tension. "Let's get out of here." We moved as one, making our way back to the transport ship. The silence was oppressive, every step echoing in the empty corridors. As we reached the airlock, a low, guttural growl stopped us in our tracks. "Contact!" one of the soldiers yelled, raising his weapon. A group of Zarnath soldiers emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with malice. They moved with terrifying speed, closing the distance between us in seconds. "Hold the line!" Elias shouted, opening fire. "Protect the data." The corridor erupted into chaos, the sound of blaster fire and alien screams filling the air. I fired at the nearest Zarnath, the bolts of energy striking its chitinous armor but failing to penetrate. It lunged at me, and I barely dodged its claws, the tips scraping against my armor. "Sam, behind you," Jackson yelled, firing at another Zarnath, trying to flank us. I spun around, blasting the creature in the face. It screeched and fell back, but more were coming. We were outnumbered, and the situation was quickly becoming dire. "Fall back to the ship," Elias ordered, covering our retreat. We moved as quickly as we could, firing at the advancing Zarnath. The airlock was just ahead, but the aliens were closing in fast. One of the soldiers went down, a Zarnath claw tearing through his armor. Another scream, another life lost. "Go, go, go," Jackson shouted, pushing me towards the ship. We stumbled into the airlock, the remaining soldiers right behind us. Elias hit the control panel, sealing the door just as the Zarnath reached it. The sound of their claws scraping against the metal was almost deafening. "Blow the charges," I yelled, my heart pounding. Elias nodded, pressing the detonator. A moment later, a series of explosions rocked the outpost, the shockwave reverberating through the airlock. The screams of the Zarnath were drowned out by the roar of the blasts, and the lights flickered and died. "Let's get out of here," Elias said, his voice hoarse. We boarded the transport, the engines roaring to life as we lifted off. The view through the viewport showed the outpost engulfed in flames, the containment pods and their horrific occupants reduced to ashes. "We did it," Jackson said, his voice filled with relief. "We stopped them." "For now," Elias replied, his expression grim. "But this is just the beginning. There are more outposts, more experiments. We need to find them all." I nodded, exhaustion washing over me. "We will. Whatever it takes." Back at HQ, we handed over the data and debriefed with the commanders. The atmosphere was tense, the implications of what we had discovered weighing heavily on everyone. The data confirmed our worst fears. The Zarnath were building an army, and they had more outposts hidden across the sector. "We need to hit them hard and fast," Elias said, addressing the room. "We can't give them time to regroup." One of the commanders, a stern-looking woman named General Lawson, nodded in agreement. "We'll mobilize all available forces. We can't afford to lose this fight." As the meeting adjourned, Jackson and I made our way to the barracks. The weight of the mission hung heavy on our shoulders, but there was also a sense of resolve. We had faced the enemy and survived, and we would continue to fight. "You did good today, Sam," Jackson said, his voice soft. "We all did." I smiled, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Thanks, Jackson. We'll get through this, together." He nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "Damn right we will." Over the next few days, we prepared for the next mission. The entire base was a hive of activity, soldiers gearing up and strategists planning the next move. The data we had retrieved provided crucial information, and we used it to locate the remaining outposts. "All right, listen up," Elias said, addressing our team. "Our next target is a research facility on the edge of the sector. It's heavily fortified, but we've got a plan. We go in, take out their defenses, and destroy everything." The team nodded, their faces set in grim determination. We knew the stakes, and we were ready to do whatever it took. As we boarded the transport ship, I couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. The journey felt all too familiar, the anticipation and fear gnawing at my insides. But this time, there was also a sense of purpose. We knew what we were up against, and we were ready. The research facility loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the stars. We landed without incident, but the tension was palpable. Every step, every sound felt amplified. "Move out," Elias ordered, and we advanced cautiously. The facility was heavily guarded, but we moved with precision and skill, taking out the guards one by one. The deeper we went, the more apparent it became that this was the heart of the Zarnath's operation. We reached the main lab, and what we found there was worse than anything we had imagined. Rows upon rows of containment pods, each one holding a hybrid in various stages of transformation. The sight was both horrifying and enraging. "Plant the charges," Elias ordered, his voice tight with anger. "Destroy everything." As we worked, the alarms suddenly blared to life. The Zarnath knew we were there. "Contact!" Jackson yelled, firing at the incoming aliens. The room erupted into chaos, blaster fire and alien screams filling the air. We fought with everything we had, but the Zarnath were relentless. "We need to hold them off until the charges are set," Elias shouted, taking down a Zarnath soldier with a well-placed shot. The battle was fierce, the room a blur of motion and sound. I fired at the advancing aliens, every shot fueled by the determination to end this once and for all. The charges were set, but the Zarnath were closing in. "Fall back," Elias ordered, and we moved towards the exit, covering each other as we went. We reached the airlock just as the charges detonated, the shockwave throwing us off our feet. The facility was engulfed in flames, the hybrids and their creators reduced to ashes. "We did it," Jackson said, his voice filled with exhaustion and relief. "For now," Elias replied, his face set in grim determination. "But we won't stop until every last one of them is gone." As we lifted off, the facility burning behind us, I couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. We had struck a significant blow against the Zarnath, but the fight was far from over. "We'll keep fighting," I said softly, more to myself than anyone else. "We'll keep fighting until we win." And with that, we set our sights on the next target, ready to continue the battle. The fate of humanity depended on it.